In Hinduism, life is a dream. It's a dream. It's, you hear all the time people say that, what you see isn't real, and that, the world is a hallucination. So, imagine this, and this is really cool. Imagine that you are God, okay? That you're the God, okay? God, the exact God in your mind when you think of the creator or the energy or anything like that, that exact idea in your head, okay? Imagine that you're that. And let's just say that every night when you go to bed, you could dream any dream that you wanted, any dream. And you could make that dream 75 years of subjective time. Okay, let's just say. So, you can imagine if you could do that, well, the first couple of nights, first thing you'd do is you'd give yourself a perfect Greek god body, just perfect. And everyone likes you, and you can do anything you want, and anything goes in there. Nobody's getting harmed, and everybody's happy, and you are, just living it up, all the money that you want, live anywhere you want, just having every sexual fantasy you've ever had in your entire life. You could live that out night after night after night after night in this dream, right? So just every single tantalizing thing you can come up with. And you could do that for 75, 1,000 years in one night, right? Because it's a dream, right? So you do that for a while. You wake up every day thinking, wow, that was fantastic. Well, this time I'm going to do this different and this different. And you just try every which way to make it more and more and more pleasurable and great, right? Okay. After a while, though, you've done it. You've done it, and it's like chess. When they know the winner, even if the winner is like 7 moves ahead, they stop playing the game, because the whole point of the game is to play because you don't know who's going to win, right? So after a while, it'd be like a situation where you're just having to play like tic-tac-toe, and you're always just playing the same moves over and over and over again, and it's not as fun. So you think, all right, well, tonight I'm going to put a little adventure in there, right? So you start imagining being a medieval knight, that's slaying dragons and winning the queen or the princess's hand in marriage, or whoever you want to marry in the kingdom, and you're this champion, this warrior, and you have these battles, and you're getting hurt and hit, but you're always winning, you're always winning and saving the kingdom, right? So you do this for a while. And after a while, that gets kind of old, because you're just always winning. So now you're going to put even a little bit more into it, and you're going to make it like this espionage thing, and sometimes you're getting tortured, sometimes you get hurt, but, you're sometimes you're winning, and sometimes you get shot, and it's a little bit more adventuresome, but, you're always coming out on top. At the end of the day, you're always coming out on top. So after doing that for a few 100,000 years, you finally get sick of all that stuff, and you think, all right, well, tonight, I'm going to make it so I don't know how it's going to end. Tonight, I'm going to really put adventure in there. I'm going to really put chance in there, just like a chess game, and I'm not going to know if I'm going to make it, right? So you enter into that world, and you find you have the same problems that you have right now, right? You find that the world becomes kind of the same space that it is now. And maybe that's exactly what you're doing. And so, with this idea of making life a dream, you have a different set of circumstances than you do when you insist that either the world is a material thing or you insist that it's a dumbed down thing, like science says, and you're just slime, evolved slime, with no rhyme or reason to anything, right? It's a little bit different than that. And we hear all the time people say that you make your own destiny. I mean, many people believe that. You know, your choices determine your destiny. That's pretty obvious. And your destiny also at the same time is pulling you towards it. It's like a telos in the distance, and it's always drawing you towards it. And it's really just a question of if you're going to follow the dream, which is your inner heart mind, which is what speaks to you when you dream, because, you know, when you dream, you're surprised by your own dream, but you're the very one that's dreaming the dream, right? And so the idea is that the more you follow that instinctual aspect of your heart, the more that you align to your true natural self, your true nature being, the more into the more you coalesce with the way things really are. And if anything is going to burgeon appropriate behavior, it's going to be being familiar with the environment and who you are, and not, in my case that I did for 40 years, and not trying to fix it, to fix the environment as if it's broken, or as though you're broken, correcting it. Because there's always something wrong. So there's never peace in that situation. There's never true peace. You're always having to imagine a temporary peace, you see? And this is how a religious notion locks a person into a state of anxiety. This is exactly the psychology behind that, and why a person who subscribes and insists a religion is subscribing to anxiety. Because they have pulled themselves away through their mind, through their imagination, they have pulled themselves away from their natural state, because the natural state has been declared inherently evil and inherently in need of forgiveness and correction. And so when that is the starting point for all activity and all becoming in the world and all decisions, you see, you're always starting from a place of misunderstanding. You're always starting from a place of being out of sync with the naturalness. Because the environment is fallen. Because you are a fallen creature. And so, the reason why this was done, and I got into this in my other videos, the reason why this was done is because it removes a person's ability to have natural, appropriate behavior, to source their inspiration to action from a natural source within themselves. The human cortex, the human brain, the neocortex, is just like the hard drive on your computer. And anything can be downloaded onto that thing, and it will run on that program. Terence McKenna once used to say that every new president we get, we move into the next operating system for that environment. But unfortunately, Terence didn't realize that all of these operating systems that were offered to us through the government were all the same operating system. They just had different costumes. And so the human brain, it's like water. It's like water, and it takes the form of whatever vessel into which it's poured. And so if it's poured into a vessel which says, okay, your baseline understanding of the world, Mr. Person, Mrs. Person, is that the world is in a state of need, and you are in a state of need, in a state of lack, in a constant state of neediness and lack and correction, you see. And the task of life then becomes to go out and correct it, to correct yourself as if there's something wrong, you see. And so an illusion is formed of what the world is. And when you think about it, you've just basically taken this Hinduistic idea of life as a dream, and you've made the dream a nightmare. You have insisted the world, the dream that you're having, into a nightmare. That's what's happened. And so we laugh in the West. We laugh at this idea of their thinking of the East Indian folks thinking that life is a dream, when we very much are, when we ourselves are doing that exact thing. We're putting ourselves into a dream. And that's why I called way back at the beginning of my videos that Christianity turns life into a simulacrum. That's just a very psychological way of saying it turns it into a dream. And since you are the creator of your own destiny and life, when you make your dream, your life, a nightmare, that is what nature's going to give you. That's why there's this whole idea of balance, and that, hateful people attract hate, loving people attract love, spiteful people attract spite. That's where that comes. That's because that's a natural law. The universe returns to you the energy which you put into it. And so if you insist an energy which says the world is fallen, I need a savior, everyone needs to be a Christian or should be a Christian, and all these people are going to hell, and there is a heaven or hell, and I insist in this. When you do that, when you insist that, you make the dream, your life, literally a nightmare which you will never wake from until you die. That's why in Christianity, when you die, you realize bliss. It's because your mind has been poured into the vessel which says, in this existence, in your life here and now, you're a fallen creature and the world is fallen. That's the scenario, and that will never change. It's so bad that God's going to destroy all of it someday. He's just going to finally just throw his hands in the air and say that to hell with the whole thing. It's so rotten, right? This is why I've spent so much time talking about the psychopathy that's caused when a mind insists a religion upon the natural, instinctual self. It's like going back in time 1,000 years and taking a Native American, forwarding him into time and putting him into the Bank of London and saying, be natural. Just be yourself. Be who you are. In this bank. They're going to be inappropriate. You've placed them into a situation where they're not going to be able to behave appropriately because their mind has been poured into a vessel which is not. It's been put into a situation which is not cohesive to the environment into which of which it was raised, of which it was indoctrined. And so just take that exact picture, and that's exactly what Christianity is like. And you have this natural person, and you're forcing them into this mold that is unnatural to the way that the human psyche becomes and matures and coalesces with its environment and becomes appropriate to it. You see? And no matter what you do, this is why I said it doesn't matter with grace or anything. No matter what you do, you're always going to be in that situation, so you never get out of that psychopathy. That's why I said it doesn't matter if you're forgiven or not. It doesn't matter if there's grace. It doesn't matter if any of these things that Christianity insists are true. It's because it doesn't matter, because it's constantly putting you in a place of inappropriateness. It's constantly putting you as a Native American into the Bank of London, or as an executive at the Bank of London into a teepee, or on a horse riding and attacking buffalo. Really, it's that nonsensical. And that's why I get so passionate about it. And that's why I emphasize so much this heretical approach, this heretical idea of the world, because the world as it's been insisted is inappropriate to the way that it is.